Hello, and welcome to the Complete Podcast Network. I'm Anthony Wilson, recording from Los Angeles, California. On today's show, I preview Saturday's fight of the decade between Canelo Alvarez and Bud Crawford, make picks for Week 2 of the NFL slate, and make an observation about USC quarterback Jaden Maava. Let's get to it. Saturday night on Netflix from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. It'll be the fight of the decade between Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Bud Crawford. The build-up has been it's been significant. This is going to be a huge fight. As Max Kellerman said, I mentioned on the podcast, I think the last time I talked about the fight, that the number of people who will see this. I mean, it's going to be so much. It's going to rival the fight of the century between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. I think Max said that was seen in 92 million homes. He compared it to when when Pacquiao and Mayweather fought, it did 4 million homes, right, on pay-per-view, right. Well, this is going to be on Netflix, right? So if you just have a Netflix subscription, you can watch the fight. You don't have to pay $70 to watch it. I think the Mayweather fight actually might have been $100, the Mayweather Pacquiao fight. So I mean, the number of people who are going to be able to watch this fight, as Max said, even if it's 5 people who watch the fight, in one home, you do that, you times that by 4, that's 20 million people. Way more people are going to see this fight. This is a huge fight, the type of fight that, it's a pay-per-view, basically, era type of fight, but it's happening in 2025. So we're getting back to that. Of course, Tank Davis and Jake Paul will also be on Netflix. But, I wanted to break down this fight, Canelo and Crawford, and give my analysis and finally make my prediction. When the fight was first announced, I was sort of like, I don't know, like, obviously, Crawford making a huge jump up to 168 pounds to face Canelo, both of these men are future Hall of Fame fighters, and I think it's interesting. I think most boxing fans at first, their thinking was, well, what type of fight is this really? Crawford has never fought above 154 pounds. Canelo's fought as high as 175 pounds, right? So traditionally in boxing, this is the type of fight that people frown upon. This type of fight between, fighters with such stark differences in weight classes. But the closer you look, I think, the more you realize is that Canelo will have a strength advantage, but not that much of a size advantage, probably. Crawford is actually a half inch taller than Canelo, and his reach is 3.5 inches longer. So this is not your typical big man, little man fight. This is not Floyd versus Oscar, where Oscar is 2 inches taller than Floyd. Floyd had I'm sorry, I don't have the. So I think Floyd and Oscar had about the same reach. I think like 72, or maybe Oscar's reach was a little bit longer. Floyd had pretty long arms for his height. But it's not that fight, because Oscar was 2 inches, full 2 inches taller than Floyd, and probably looked like more bigger, more of a difference than that when they were in the ring. And Oscar used that jab, but this is not that fight, because these two guys are pretty much the same height, Canelo and Crawford. It's also not Pacquiao against Oscar, or Duran against Leonard, or Duran against Hearns. where you had huge differences in not just height, but also reach, right? So, Pacquiao's reach is 67, Oscar's 72 or 73. Duran, I think Leonard had a 74-inch reach, which was way longer than Duran. Duran only 5'7", Pacquiao 5'7", and then Duran Hearns, uh, once again, that was the biggest mismatch of them all. Duran at 5'7", Hearns at 6'1", with, I don't know how Hearns was 70 inches or something like that, maybe longer. So it's not that fight either. It's not in any of those fights. I would put it more along the lines of now I'm going to be jumping around back and forth as far as the weight classes go, right? Um, because you have guys, Canelo, like a natural 54 pounder, and he's all the way up to 75, right? Uh, Bud Crawford, a natural welterweight. So there's been like a lot of like kind of, well, not a lot of weird overlap, but like, for example, Canelo fought Mayweather, right? And Mayweather, and that's years ago, because Canelo was like 22 or 23. But of course, Floyd had his way with the young Canelo. Um, and, Floyd and Crawford are pretty much the same size. Plus, Crawford's reach is a little bit longer than Floyd's, 2 inches longer. And then you have like a Pacquiao and Cotto, where that was considered a big man, little man fight, but Cotto and Pacquiao are the same height, right? So there's a difference between big man, little man, when someone is, towering over their opponent, and one guy just being stronger, thicker, more natural at the weight than the other man, right? Meaning, if you saw Manny Pacquiao and Miguel Cotto walk into a room, you wouldn't necessarily go, wow, Cotto is way bigger than Pacquiao. You wouldn't think that, right? And I think it's the same thing in this situation. Even for Floyd, like I said, Canelo was stronger than Floyd physically. But if they were in the same room at the same time, you'd be okay. Like, okay, Canelo's stronger. He looks bigger, but it wouldn't be like I said, like a Hearns Duran Leonard, Pacquiao Oscar, Floyd Oscar. Where you go, look how big this guy is compared to the other guy. It's not like that. And as I said, Floyd beat Canelo, and Floyd and Crawford are pretty much the same size. They are the same size, basically, except Crawford has a reach that's 2 inches longer than Mayweather's. So this fight, I tried to find some templates to compare it to. I think Floyd Canelo is a good one. The question is, what this fight really comes down to is how good exactly is Bud Crawford, right? He's great, we know that. But how great is he, right? When you think about the greatest fighters, the greatest slick African American fighters to ever fight in the 147, 154, around there, that weight numera, right? Of course, Ray Robinson, he's the god. He's the greatest fighter of all time. And I almost didn't know whether to put him in this category, as I said, the slick boxer category, because he was such a great puncher. When a guy's a great puncher like that, you almost hesitate to put him in that category of the slick boxers. But of course, Robinson was such a complete fighter. His defense was so good. His infighting, the way he would slip punches. He was pretty much the most well-rounded fighter that ever lived, right? And so, there's him, and then amongst the I can't even say mere mortals because it's disrespect to the guys, but I mean, Ray Leonard is a god himself, right? Um, Ray Leonard is someone who I would say he would Ray Leonard was a great puncher, but Ray Robinson is on the level of Ray Robinson is just a different tier, right, of punchers. Um, like he wouldn't. I don't think he would compare. I remember when I don't mean to go on a tangent here, as I often or sometimes do, but I remember when Trinidad knocked out William Joppy, and Larry Merchant said that Trinidad may be the hardest puncher. That was at 160 pounds, right, in the Don King tournament. And Larry Merchant said that Trinidad might be the best puncher uh, in those weight classes since Ray Robinson. And I think Big George, rest in peace, he agreed with Larry. He said, if you say it, I think it's right. I think you're right. If you say it, it's true. So you wouldn't put Ray Leonard in that category of puncher. He was a great, he did have great power. But Ray Leonard, his speed, his reflexes, his ring generalship, um, you could argue that he was the best ever as far as those things, right? Um, Especially at his size, at 5'10" with a 74-inch reach. And then you have Mayweather, of course. Mayweather, smaller than Leonard, not as much power, but Mayweather, one of the top three probably greatest defensive fighters in the history of boxing. So sleek, so quick, so good, hands so fast, so smart, so just everything except a big puncher at Mayweather was a puncher at 130 and 135, but not above that. And plus he had those brittle hands. But as far as sleekness and slickness, they never got any slicker than Floyd Mayweather, right? Now somebody like Purnell, he's really smaller, but of course he was also unbelievable, a magician. So the question is, okay, when you go Robinson, or if you want to put Robinson in, or if you don't, if you just go Leonard and Mayweather, the question is, how good is Bud Crawford in comparison to them, right? Um, Mayweather beat Canelo, but it was a young Canelo. Does a 36, I think Floyd was 36 at the time, does he beat the Canelo that Crawford will fight on Saturday? I say yes, still, right? Um, do I think it's closer? Yeah, I still give Floyd the edge. Now, so the question is Bud Crawford as good as Floyd Mayweather? I would have to say no. I have to say as good as he is. He doesn't have, I think he has good hand speed, but of course nothing like a Mayweather or a Ray Leonard. His defense is good, but not like a Mayweather. He's a very well-rounded fighter, a good athlete, a great tactician. He can fight southpaw and orthodox, and he's just a great fighter. But is he Mayweather level? No. And Ray Leonard, I think you'd have to say like I said, he was bigger than Floyd and just as fast and great, much better puncher. So for sure they would beat Canelo. Mayweather already beat him, and I think that Mayweather would even beat this version of Canelo, the older, wiser, more mature version of Canelo. So, but if now Bud Crawford, is he as good as Mayweather? Like I said, I don't think so. He has a chance to prove me wrong. He could be. His chance to prove it is going to come on Saturday night. Now, at a larger weight class, closer to what they'll be fighting at on Saturday, right? I use this as a template also, which is Sergey Kovalev. He beat Bernard Hopkins, and he beat Andre. Well, Andre Ward beat him twice technically. I always thought that Kovalev beat Ward in the first fight, right? And was giving him problems in the second fight, and Ward was just able to hurt him and then beat him to the body and get the knockout, right? But he was giving Ward hell in both of those fights. Don't forget that. And so I think that, once again, when you start to, now we're up to, these fights take place at 175 pounds, right? Crawford Canelo will take place at 168 pounds. Canelo has fought at 175 pounds, right? When you look at this fight, Kovalev, somebody who I believe is a Hall of Fame fighter, in his prime, Bernard Hopkins, no matter how old he was, he always ate up guys who all they could do was just come forward in a straight line and throw hard punches. He always ate those guys up, whether it was Kelly Pavlik, whether it was Antonio Tarver, it didn't matter who it was. He had their way with them, right? And, it was always the guys who could box who gave Hopkins problems. Those slick guys with some hand speed who could box. I'm talking Calzaghe, who beat him. I'm talking Jermaine Taylor, who beat him twice. Now, those decisions were disputed, but still. Of course, Roy Jones, who beat him back in the 90s. Chad Dawson beat him. And then Sergey Kovalev beat him. And that's what made me realize that Sergey Kovalev was really a great fighter. Because everybody thinks of Kovalev as this, Russian, seek and destroy guy. But he outboxed Bernard Hopkins. That's the only way to beat Bernard Hopkins was to outbox him. So I look at this fight. And then also, like I said, Kovalev, I think he beat Ward the first time. It was giving him trouble the second time as well before he got knocked out. He knocked down both of those guys. He knocked down Hopkins and Ward. So I kind of use that as a template for this fight, right? Now you think about it, between 160 and 175 pounds, who are the all-time slick African-American boxers? Roy Jones is the god, right? Untouchable in his prime. And you can rank these guys whenever order you want. You got Bernard, you got Andre Ward, and you have James Toney, right? Kovalev beat Ward and Hopkins. Would he have beaten James Toney? The best of James Toney? I don't know. I think it's a real fight, though. So basically, the reason I bring that fight up is because I can see parallels between, even though these guys are small, all those guys I just named are 5'10", 5'11", 6 feet, 6'1", right? These two guys are 5'8", right? Canelo fought at welterweight to start his career. But Crawford is a natural welterweight. So these are smaller guys. But I just think, once again, it's like, it's the same concept, right? Roy Jones would have beaten Kovalev. I don't know about James. And then Ward and Hopkins. Like I said, I think Ward lost. I've said it like 5 times already. I think Ward lost the first fight, was having trouble again the second fight before he knocked him out. And I think, obviously, Kovalev beat Hopkins, right? So basically, what I'm saying is, I think that Bud Crawford is more of he's the Andre, how do I say this? He's the Andre Ward or Bernard Hopkins of Roy Jones is. Does that make sense? In the same way I said that there's Robinson and there's Leonard and there's Mayweather, right? And then there's and that's at welterweight. And then in the 160 to 175 range, there's Roy Jones. He's the guy. And then there's James Toney. I don't know what would happen, like I said, if Toney fought Kovalev. But I know that Kovalev beat. Um, I'm not gonna say it again. I already said it 10 times. Right? So basically, that's what I'm saying. Is that I think Crawford, he's just a cut below the level of fighter that would be necessary to pull this off. And the reason I mean the main reason I brought that up that the fighters that the Kovalev Hopkins Ward, because I think Canelo, he's the type of fighter like Kovalev. The reason I mention that, Kovalev he's known as a puncher, known as somebody who's there to hurt you, knock you out, destroy you. One of his opponents died after the beating that Kovalev put on him, or after their fight, and Kovalev was just like, he didn't show any remorse really, if I recall. But then he outboxed Bernard Hopkins, right? And I think Canelo is there's similarities there, even though Kovalev was way bigger and they're really different. Even though they ended up fighting, right? And Canelo knocked him out, which tells you something about how strong Canelo is. Even though that was a washed up Kovalev, I don't think Canelo would do that to the real Kovalev. But I hope you're getting the point that I'm making, though, when I try to make this parallel, right? Like I said, because Canelo is somebody he can punch, he can box, he's seen it all, he's not afraid of anything or anybody, So, to me, there's a parallel there between what Kovalev did against Hopkins and Ward and how I think this fight will go on Saturday, which is, but Crawford, as great as he is, he's going to get out there and he's going to feel, my Jason Wolf, he just refuses to come on here. He said that he thinks that Bud will feel Canelo's power and then make a business decision, and pretty much decide that he's just going to collect his money and try not to get knocked out or whatever, or get hurt too bad, right? And I said, man, I hadn't thought about that. That's a good one. And then I countered with the one thing is that Crawford is 41-0. He's never lost, And it's hard to convince guys who've never lost. It's hard to convince them to lose, So, yeah, man. It's like if Crawford was 41-1 or 40-1, that'd be different. He's already taken a loss. He can just go out there, collect his money, go on about his life. But he's never lost before, and now he's in the biggest fight of his life, and he's at 168 pounds. He's never fought above 154 pounds. What happens, right? And I just think that Canelo's no pushover. Like I said, both these guys are Hall of Fame fighters, still at the top of their game. And, if Bud beats him, I mean, it would basically mean that you got to put Bud Crawford in the, at least on the Mayweather category. Not as far as career-wise, but as far as this guy is that good, because Canelo is great. And, we'll have to see how it goes, but in the end, my prediction officially is Canelo 8 rounds to 4. I'll make it 116 to 112 for Canelo, but I think it's possible that he could score a knockdown in the same way that Kovalev knocked down Hopkins and Ward. I'll make it 116 to 111. So that's the official pick that I have for you guys for that fight. And we'll just have to see what happens on Saturday. I'll be back on here to react, of course, on, I don't know, I'll probably wait until, you know, I'll try to wait until after the football games. The football games are over this weekend. So, you know, but, yeah, it should be interesting, man. I'm glad it's free and I get to watch it. Well, basically free. I have a Netflix subscription, so I'll be able to watch it. And, you know, that'll be cool. All right, so week 2 in the NFL. I'll go through my picks here. So it starts tomorrow night with the Skins at the Packers on Thursday night. Football, I still call them the Skins. Screw it. I still call them the Redskins. They're playing at Green Bay. Redskins are good, man, but the Packers, they look like something on Sunday, bro. So I'll take the Pack in that one. And it gets to Sunday. We got Rams or Titans. Rams all the way. Jags at Bengals. Bengals all the way. Browns at Ravens. The Ravens, they get right after that tough defeat on Sunday night. A collapse. Bills at Jets. You know, I think the Jets, Justin Fields, he looked good in week 1. And I think it is just, if the Jets would just be happy that they have a quarterback who, you know, run around, make plays, look good. You know, he's still young. And I think that should be good enough for the Jets. But I like the Bills. The Bills are the Bills. And you got Pats at Dolphins. The Dolphins are a complete mess. The Pats under Mike Vrabel, with Drake May in his second year, they're going to be better. They're going to be more competitive. The Dolphins are a complete mess, but they're at home. I mean, how bad could the Dolphins actually be is the question, though. I saw somebody say that Tyreek Hill has, I might have been Schefter, I'm not sure, I don't want to credit the wrong person. He said Tyreek Hill has not had a reception of more than 30 yards in 1 year. So, I don't know, I say that's a pick 'em. I don't want to completely count the Dolphins out. They still have some good players. But, I don't know. Mike Vrabel's really smart, man. So, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, it's a tough one. I'll come back to that one. Here we got Niners at Saints. The Saints are not very good. The Niners go to 2-0. We got the Giants at the Cowboys. The Giants are still not any good. Cowboys didn't look that bad against the Eagles. They just did what they always do, which they couldn't make the plays at the end. But they'll be fine at home. So I'll take the Cowboys. The Bears at the Lions. Man, something tells me the Bears win that one. They were having their way with the Vikings into that fourth quarter. The Lions just look like a complete mess against the Packers on Sunday. And I don't know, man. Like I said, bro, the Ben Johnson thing, it seemed like he may have been the superpower that the Lions had. And now that they don't have him, they're just like the Lions again. As much talent as they have. So, but it's at Detroit, though. I don't know, bro. I just don't know. I don't know what the Lions are going to do without Ben Johnson. I'm going with the Bears. Screw it. Next, we got the Seahawks at the Steelers. Steelers all the way. Next, we got the Broncos at the Colts. Give me the Broncos. And it's the Panthers at the Cardinals. Cardinals all the way. Then we got the Eagles at the Chiefs. That's a tough one, man. The Chiefs seem kind of embattled right now. And the Eagles are really good. Wouldn't shock me if the Eagles went in there and handled business, bro. Darn. Did I pick the Chiefs when I talked about them last time to win this game? I don't remember. So, but in case I did, I'm just gonna go with the Chiefs. But let's put an asterisk next to that one. Then you got the Falcons at the at the Vikings on Sunday night. This is the Vikings with McCarthy, the Falcons with Penix. Shoot, that's a tough one. And they said that Drake London is probably going to play, and I don't know about that one. McCarthy at home. Give me the Falcons. Okay, and then so on Monday night we got two games. We got the Bucks at the Texans. I suppose I'll take the Texans in that one. And then you got the Chargers at the Raiders in the second game. The Raiders are going to be, like I said, a lot better under Pete. I think the Chargers, they got a year head start on them because Harbaugh was there last year. And I think Justin Herbert, Geno Smith he played great in week one, but Herbert was great too, and he's really just a more talented, more classy. When I say classy, I mean like in the classist sense. He's really the more talented player. They were both high draft picks, but I look at Justin Herbert is a higher caliber talent. So I'm going to go with the Chargers in that one. Okay, so, and last but not least, I just wanted to talk a little bit about USC. They're 2-0 right now. A couple of basically just, games to get your feet wet, get off to a good start. Against Missouri State, and then last week it was against Saturday it was against Georgia Southern and Clay Helton's return. So USC 2-0, they beat Georgia Southern 59-20 after beating Missouri State 73-13. So I wanted to say something about Jade Miami. They'll be at Purdue. USC will on Saturday at 12:30 p.m. on CBS. Both those teams are 2-0. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, USC, talent-wise, historically, USC is supposed to be, they're different caliber programs, right? Purdue had Drew Brees once upon a time. But even then, when Drew Brees was at, Drew Brees was at Purdue. What was Drew Brees' rookie year, like 2001, I think it was? So, of course, I don't know if USC and Purdue, but they probably never played each other. I don't know, right? But I'm just saying, of course, this is USC's second year in the Big Ten. Purdue's been there. But I think USC is supposed to beat a team like a program like Purdue. It's USC. USC, one of the best programs in the history of college football. But I just wanted to say something. I don't know what's going to happen. But I just think that I want to say something about Jaden Iyava. Because through two games, he's 31 of 42, which is a 73.8 completion percentage. He's thrown for 707 yards, which is over 350 yards per game. He has 6 touchdowns and no interceptions. So he's been great. They haven't played anybody, but he has been great. But I wanted to say something about, because he has a reputation of being a dual threat quarterback. But in his UNLV, right, he started the whole season, and he had 73 carries for 277 yards, right? Now that's okay. Clearly, that's someone who will make plays with his legs, but it's not exactly RG3. It's not exactly, Lamar Jackson or somebody like that, right? Somebody who can and will make plays with their legs, but not exactly, like I said, people call him a dual threat. I think he's more of a threat to extend plays with his legs, and and then he will make plays with his legs if he has to. But he's actually a little bit more of a pocket passer, I think, than people give him credit for. So far in 2 games this year, he has 4 carries for 14 yards. Last year, he started 4 games for USC, and had 20 carries for 45 yards. So, again, sometimes you can have a certain reputation based on your appearance that doesn't quite fit you. You know, Jaden Mahava is somebody who he's standing back there, he's looking to pass, and then if nothing's there, he might take off and run. But I think I think overall Jaden Mahava is somebody who he likes, like I said, bro. He's a little bit more of a pocket passer than he gets credit for. I want to give a shout out also to Wayman Jordan, who has 209 yards through 2 games. He had 167 yards rushing against Georgia Southern. And also I want to give a shout out to Mekhi Lemon, who had, I think, 158 yards, 158 yards receiving against Georgia Southern and 2 touchdowns. So he's probably gonna have a huge year, and be one of the top, one of the first receivers taken in the draft coming up. But we'll see how USC does on the road at Purdue. Like I said, 2-0 teams. Purdue, they beat Ball State and Southern Illinois, so they pretty much started the season just like USC did, just trying to ease their way into it. And we'll see how they do, bro. I mean, I also hope USC wins it. I think they have they should have more talent. Purdue has their quarterback is a fellow by the name of Ryan Brown. He's a sophomore. I guess he's a redshirt sophomore. Didn't play that much in his first 2 years. 6'4", 210 pounds though. It's going to be an interesting match. It's going to be an interesting matchup, man, as USC starts conference play in 2025. But you just have to hope that USC, with their pedigree, that they'll be able to go out there and take care of business. All right, so before I get out of here, just a reminder to hit that subscribe button next to the Complete Podcast Network and to follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at TC Pod Network. You can also send feedback and mailback questions to Complete Lakers Podcast at gmail.com. I am out. Hey, so just wanted to add this on after the fact. Right after I finished recording, I saw of course, the news that is shaking up America today. The tragic and terrible news that conservative commentator Charlie Kirk was killed at an event in Utah. I asked Grok AI to summarize, and I'll read that summary now. On September 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk, a prominent conservative activist and founder of Turning Point USA, was fatally shot in the neck while speaking at a student Q&A event at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. The incident occurred around 12:20 p.m. near the campus food court, with a single shot fired from an elevated position in an academic building approximately 100 to 200 yards away. Kirk, 31, was pronounced dead, and President Donald Trump confirmed his death on Truth Social, ordering U.S. flags to be flown at half-staff. Despite initial reports of a suspect in custody, authorities later clarified that the shooter remains at large, prompting a massive manhunt and campus lockdown. The shooting, which drew bipartisan condemnation, is part of a recent spike in political violence in the U.S., with no motive yet disclosed. So thank you to Grok for that summary. Grok used NBC News and CBS 8 as sources for that for the summary. And this is obviously just terrible and devastating news. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. You should be absolutely sick to your stomach by what happened today. Charlie Kirk leaves behind a wife and 2 small children. and it's just absolutely just a senseless act of violence. Um, make no mistake, Charlie Kirk was assassinated. This is an assassination. You don't have to be a political figure, technically, uh, to be, I should say, you don't have to be a politician to be assassinated. Martin Luther King was assassinated. He wasn't a politician. He was a political activist. Same thing with Malcolm X. And that's what happened to Charlie Kirk, man. And I just think it's terrible. Uh, I think that it will only serve to further divide the left and the right. Uh, it's a shame it can't bring us closer together. Um, but I don't know. I just think it's just going to bring us further apart. And I think it's a day that will live in infamy. I'm sorry, in infamy in this country. Um, I think that yeah, Charlie Kirk. I think he'll be remembered as a martyr for his cause. And yeah, I just don't know what it's going to take in this country uh, for people to realize that left, right, conservative, liberal, we're all people, we're all Americans, and things that tie us together are greater than the things that separate us, or should be. And I'm not one to. I don't think anybody should politicize this, but I just think that it's all happening. When I was a kid, conservatives were not demonized, and I think the racial discussion, any talk of the race relations or racism in this country, pretty much had ceased when Obama became president. But then what happened was when Obama, as his second term was coming to an end, I think that the left realized that, what are we going to do now? Election is approaching. And that was when the Michael Brown situation happened, where he was killed by the police. And then you have the Ferguson protest. And, I think the Ferguson protest happened because the media, which is, largely left-wing outside of Fox News, the media basically used it as a political avenue and used it to divide the left and the right. And then, of course, they further sensationalized. I think that was what caused. That was the way the media. I mean, it's like police killings happen all the time in this country, and I don't think it's a coincidence that the left-wing media decided, in that instance, to use it as a political tactic to stir up, drama and unrest. And the Ferguson protests followed that. And I think that everything that has happened since then, it started there. It's like I said, I wasn't Ronald Reagan left office the year I was born, but Ronald Reagan wasn't considered a villain. Neither was George Bush, not senior or George W. Bush. Mitt Romney, John McCain, they weren't considered villains. It wasn't until really 2014 that I think, like I said, if you go back, all this stuff, everything that's happened since then, it started there, and that was when it became not just a difference of opinion, but we agree to disagree between the left and the right, but it became a war basically between the left and the right. And this, I would say, this is It's probably the worst thing that's happened as a result of that divide. So uh, again, man, just a terrible day uh, in this country. I think this will echo for a long time, forever. The worst part is the fact that it was caught on video in such graphic detail. Such a clear shot of the shooting and the impact point, and you know, uh, it just sucks, man. You know, and I don't know. I have to say, I know, Civil War was trending on Twitter, and I don't know. We'll just have to. I don't think we'll go to war. Once again, I'm not picking sides. Everybody knows I'm conservative, but I'm not picking sides. I'm not trying to politicize this. But I don't think it'll be a civil war, or you have riots or anything like that. Because outside of the what happened on January 6th, the riot has generally been rather, it hasn't been their thing. That's been more of a liberal thing to riot and do stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't know what to say except rest in peace to Charlie. And my thoughts and prayers are with his wife, the wife he leaves behind, two small kids he leaves behind, with everybody, all his friends and family, and everybody mourning his death. Um, be safe out there.